Hi.
Hi. So awkward. So, do you experience sneezing or itching or bloating or indigestion or diarrhea? What about headaches or anxiety? You might be suffering from allergies.
Well, hello, I'm Jamie Wyland. This is Dr. Sarah Vivona,
Hello.
and we are from Integrative Health and Wellness, for those of you that don't know. So it's so nice because every Wednesday I get to grab one of the doctors and go live with you guys while the other doctor that I'm not with gets to teach a class out in our foyer to people who are wanting to learn more about what we do, how we do it, and scientifically why it works. It's awesome, right? Because it's a free class.
Yep.
And you guys offer a discount, like a
Yep.
substantial discount for people who come in.
Yep.
Not,
For their exam.
yeah, not that you're expensive to begin with, but any discount for anything
Helps, right?
it's so nice. I absolutely love that you guys both do that, really because you're not relying on somebody else to teach those classes for you.
Right.
So it's a great opportunity for anybody to get one-on-one experience with the doctors, whether it's her or Dr. Colin. It's the same class, except
Every
your
week.
testimonies are different.
Right. We don't have the same problems.
Right? Thankfully. And then, so anytime you guys are interested in that, please know that that's always available to you here. So tonight I have the pleasure of talking with Dr. Sarah about allergies.
Woohoo! Hot topic.
Hot topic right now, right? So seasonal changes are happening. And I mean, so Dr. Sarah, like what really are allergies?
So allergies basically are the hypersensitivity of your immune system, and then the reaction of that is what causes the traditional allergy symptoms like sneezing and snottiness. But basically, if we were to simplify it down, it's like your intolerance to the world.
Okay.
You can't handle anything out there, whether it's environmental or food. If you're reacting, you're intolerant to it.
So if I had a good immune system, would I not have allergies?
Probably not. I mean, it's related to a lot of things. The immune system is just one part. And the immune system is so broad that, I mean, they all have to be working perfectly.
So, okay. So I'll help you out here. Yeah, I totally.
It's so complex, people.
Okay, so how does my body respond then? Like, what happens that causes an allergy symptom?
So it could be, again, a number of things. One reason I want to point out that allergies are more common nowadays is they call it like the hygiene hypothesis, is that we're too clean.
Really?
Yeah. And think about it now, like kids of this generation aren't necessarily encouraged to go outside and play in the dirt or go outside in general because, it's not safe anymore. And also, we're not around as many kids as we were in the past. And we readily use antibacterial soaps and washes and antibiotics and all these things. And that we're just not introduced to allergens, basically, let alone bacteria and all of that. So our immune system doesn't develop as it should. They're supposed to be introduced to these things little bits at a time, so your immune system can identify harmful material and then appropriately grow until we get to as like an adult or even a kid, but primarily we see adult seasonal allergies or food allergies. And that's the time where you're now out in the world and your body's going crazy. It's overreacting because it's not familiar with anything and it doesn't know if it's harmful or not. So it reacts as if it's harmful.
And so then that could be a really I'm gonna say that's could be a reason why I've never had allergies in my life until now, probably a couple years ago. I didn't even know I just started experiencing my nose, actually it was my whole side of my face was just running it one day. I look like Chunk from Goonies because half of my face was just so swollen and running and I just couldn't do anything about it. And I was out of the blue. I hadn't done or eaten anything.
Yeah.
It just happened.
Germaphobe over here. That's definitely your case. Go roll in the dirt, Jamie.
For those of you who don't know, so she's picking on me because I am a former germaphobe, but I'm not afraid of dirt. It's really just
Bugs.
yeah, germs. So I've just in later years am experiencing, but my son who's 10, I feel like he was just born with allergies because he's always been congested. So is that possible that he could have just been born with allergies?
Yeah, so there's a research study, there's a book now, it's labeled Pottinger's Cats, and he did a study. I don't think it even started out as a study. I don't know if I talked about this in other lives or not.
That sounds a little familiar.
I feel like I might have. But it's pretty much anything that happens in kids, it's usually due to Pottinger's Cats research. And so he had cats. I don't remember why he had cats. I'm sure I should probably refresh on that. But he had cats. And eventually he had good food for cats, and then he didn't have enough good food for cats, so he gave half of his cats crappy cat food, and then half of his cats food that cats should be eating.
Okay.
And then he just kind of watched what happened to their health and to the next generation that was born and the next generation that was born, and again and again and again. And eventually it was around 3rd or 4th generation, which is what most kids nowadays are towards, like the introduction of processed foods, like great and then great grandparents are like the last generation that actually ate real food, real organic food, because it was all organic at that point in time. And so it's this 3rd and 4th generation that he found the cats were born sick, they had problems right at the get-go, and then if it kept going, eventually it led to, they actually weren't even able to reproduce in the future, which is why we're seeing a lot of infertility problems nowadays, because we are sick.
So, there's not much my mother will allow me to blame on her, but according to you right now, this is one thing I could be blaming on her. Just so you know, if you ever need something to blame your mother for, here you go. You can say Dr. Sarah said so.
How healthy were you, Mom?
So what are some common and uncommon symptoms of allergies? Because, let's be real. Like, most people know allergies to be like itchy, watery eyes, congestion.
And then if you have food allergies, it would be normal, like bloating, indigestion, could be diarrhea. But you also could have depression and anxiety,
over allergies.
Hyperactivity. Yep.
I didn't realize they could affect your mood.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
Let's not tell my kids that. I could see that one being
all
abused.
allergic to sugar, right?
Oh my goodness. My kids would go crazy over that. I really did not know that. So why do you think, we just said that, like, why do we think allergies have become so common, right? And like what do you see causing allergies?
Mm-hmm. So back to like the hygiene, there's a couple other things. One of the main ones, especially dealing with foods nowadays, is kind of what they've coined leaky gut syndrome. Basically, the technical term is intestinal permeability, which basically means your intestinal lining is thinning and the cells aren't tightly pushed up against one another, so they kind of gap, and it allows for material to pass into your bloodstream. And when that happens, you'll have undigested foods that pass into your blood, and then whenever anything's in your blood, could be foods, could be any sort of other allergen you would have gotten into your system, your immune system gets involved and tries to kind of attack these things that are in your blood, which it should. That's an appropriate response. And that's when you can get like the symptoms of your immune system attacking things, whether there or these food or other allergen blobs kind of settle out wherever your blood's flowing, and blood is usually flowing to sick areas, hence inflammation. So you can have food allergies that actually affect organs or muscles or joints that are then causing the inflammation to continue in that region.
So I didn't realize, sometimes you guys say things here, and it's like you'll say something, and and it just is so dumbfounding to me that I didn't question that or think of that, thing. So for instance, you and I discussed one time about how I think I was eating in front of you at lunch, and my nose was so itchy, and you had asked me, like, what are you eating? And the thing is, the food I was eating was good for me.
Right.
It's just, it was chicken, it was bacon, and then I had like veggies there. So it was like food that, it's not bad food, but I don't know that it was organic, food. And it was funny that you called me out on that, because I would have never thought, just because I was eating something and my nose got itchy while I was eating that was a symptom of an allergy.
Yeah. That'd be nose itching, ears itching, tongue, throat scratchy are the main ones. You can also have racing pulse afterwards, or if you get tired afterwards, that's another one.
So everybody who knows me knows I'm a carbaholic. Let me rephrase that. I used to be a carbaholic because I'm not anymore. Okay, I'm claiming that. So carbs, do they naturally cause you to be tired, or would you really only be tired from carbs if you had some form of allergy to them?
Depends on how much you eat. Depends on you and your body and your metabolism, what type of carbs you can eat. Like you and I can tolerate different amounts of carbs. There's generally an amount that's way too much, obviously, but everyone else functions at a different amount. So if you were to go out and eat a whole pizza and some pasta and some garlic bread, you would be tired afterwards.
So pretty much a trip to the Olive Garden.
Yeah, Olive Garden trip, you'd be tired. But say, like, maybe I'm fine on potatoes and you aren't. So it's kind of like you're going to have to just be aware of what you're eating and kind of track. Do you feel tired after? Do you not? Is that meal relatively healthy, or is it obviously not? And then kind of just check the boxes and figure out, like, what do you feel your best at? What don't you feel your best at? Basically, I just listen to what your body's telling you. It pretty much will tell you what you need to do as long as you listen.
I mean, growing up, like, I've always been just taught to think of food as a social event, right? It's just something we always get together to do. It's a fun thing. It's, something we do really for taste, not necessarily to fuel my body, okay? And then the way, like, you and Dr. Collin treat people is by helping them understand what foods are best for their bodies, or a lot, like you had said, that an allergy to a food could cause diarrhea. But typically, I mean, if that were to happen to me, I would have just thought I ate something bad, not necessarily that I had an allergy to that.
Right.
So I just think, absolutely amazing that how you guys treat in your rooms is so intuitive to each specific person, to their personal self, as to what they can, should, or shouldn't eat. Like, it's not that everybody should just be eating all the same things or not eating.
Yeah, everyone's different.
I mean, other than sugar, because nobody gets a free
right. Unfortunately, everyone should watch their sugar.
Hi, Lindsay.
Hope you're feeling better.
Speaking of, right?
Speaking of allergies.
We're so glad you tuned into this one. So if someone were to look to be treated by you, what would you do to help them with allergies?
Okay, so so a lot of things. I want to jump back to the last question because there's a couple other ones too, and one of the main ones, it's funny who's talking right now, but it's liver congestion, and histamine is largely broken down in your liver, and that's one of the main byproducts of, like, your body mounting an allergic response is histamine, and that's usually what causes, the runny eyes and the nose and all of that.
So I just want to know, like, I know the word histamine, but what is it?
It's like a chemical that then stimulates certain cells in your bodies to release their immune.
So it's like a defense.
Yeah.
Like, this is a defense mechanism. My body's producing this histamine as a,
yeah,
like, something's wrong.
Yeah.
I'm going to produce this to go fight whatever off.
Kind of like mucus, and just flush it out.
Okay. Sorry.
So if you can't break that down and it just stays there, then you have this allergic response that happens regardless of whether you have the allergen in you or near you. And a lot of times it's because the liver can't break it down. So it just kind of recirculates and you cause more inflammation and more problems. And so that's like where, like in our treatment, we're looking to see what the liver needs. Does it need nutrients? Is that why it can't flush right? Does it need like neurological support for the nerve communication to the liver? Structural support, anything to kind of like what gets that liver doing what it should. And then the histamine's broken down and it can flush out.
And this is why then too, I mean, we've talked before about how you and Dr. Collin can go and eat in a normal Thanksgiving dinner and then be okay the next day, is because your liver,
Right.
you have your liver, it's just functioning properly, that it's able to filter the garbage that you're eating in that one day.
Right.
The problem is for people like me that eat the garbage every day.
Right.
So like our liver's just so
Never get a break.
built up, right? And then I'm around stuff that I just can't even process.
Right.
So then it comes out of my eyeballs, right? It can't
Some
come out
hole,
of
right?
anywhere. It goes ridiculous. It's so ridiculous. Okay, so did you want to say anything else about
I guess sugar again. Sugar will cause inflammation. So if you're already inflamed, sugar will make that even more inflamed. So if you're having an allergic response, don't eat sugar, because that just makes it 100 times worse. Same as if you have an infection or if you have pain somewhere, like say you broke a bone or you sprained an ankle, sugar will just make that inflammation ramped up, more painful. Sugar, processed foods, grains, they all also cause inflammation, and then they also all kind of weaken your gut, and it will make you more likely to have that, leaky gut syndrome, which could then make you have more allergies or more immune problems. And so kind of just be aware of sugar, processed foods, grains, and limit them the best you can.
Okay. And then, so, I mean, I've said before I knew of you guys, my little man had a ridiculous, awful reaction to walnuts. He was just touching walnuts, and his eyeballs just, oh my goodness, like they just blew up. So we ended up in the ER, and I was given an EpiPen. So I am, told that I should always carry an EpiPen around with me. And of course he comes here and gets treated, right? So even though he's coming here, would you suggest me still taking that EpiPen, or do you think I don't need that anymore?
Yeah, keep it. I mean, that's not something like we don't legally change people's medicines at all. So we're just kind of working on supporting the body. So hopefully he won't need the EpiPen in the future, but I always have it because it's better to be safe.
I love that, because I know like that's a big deal. I mean, I can't even take him into certain stores because they have walnuts out. We actually just went to a playground and there was a walnut tree right next to the swing. So we, just have to be careful about those things. But I love that you don't take away, important things like that, help give us comfort. Right. So it's just really cool that you work within those guidelines. So super cool there. And then, so after my little man JR had this, what would I call this, episode, right? Then I had to take him to an allergist. And they put a whole system of little needles all in his back. So that way, so they threw these, it was like this box of needles. And they put it, like, and my little man, like you've seen him, he's so little, right? He hardly had enough backspace for all of these needles. And then we just sat there and waited to see how his body reacted to each needle point to find out what he was allergic to. So if I were to have brought him here, would you have done that same test to...
No, we don't use needles. We use muscle testing, which we have lots of videos on that. Go watch them.
We do. So ton of YouTube videos on that process. Even on the website, there's
it goes into it.
They're really informative, videos about how they treat that.
Well, come to a class.
Yes, yes. I have to tell you guys, and I didn't tell you I was going to say this. Not that, I mean, we just kind of go on the fly. Like, she's probably so nervous doing these with me because I'm very
someone that likes to know exactly what's going to happen. She's very much not like that. So I'm just like, what's going to happen, Jamie?
Well, here's the cool thing. So when I first started coming here, I mean, obviously I had taken JR to the allergist, so I had a list of what his allergies were, and he has a lot of different allergies. But I didn't tell Dr. Colin who we had seen what they were, because I wanted to know if you guys could figure it out, you know. And he came up with the exact same things. So I just want to let you guys at home know I have tested them, and you guys always come out on top with my tests on whether this muscle testing thing works. And you know, a lot of times people say, well, did you get blood work from me or whatever, to me, and it's always a resounding no, because that's not what you guys need from me to help heal.
I mean, if you have it, it's helpful, but it's not necessary.
Which my little man appreciates so
Sure.
much. Okay, so you would do muscle testing if we brought him in here, which is so awesome, right? Because no needles.
No needles.
No needles. And then, are there any things that people can do at home to help with allergies?
Well, the first one is sugar. Watch sugar. I mean, the first step is just be aware of sugar, because they put it in everything. Absolutely everything. And so if you're just kind of aware of how much sugar you're actually eating, and usually it's a lot more than you actually think you're eating, and then just kind of start reducing it. Basically try to just eat the real food version. Will have half the sugar in it anyways. And then that will help more like your inflammation and your immune response. And then another thing that's really good is like homemade stocks or bone broths. They are full of collagen and good fats that you need for healthy intestines and also good immune cells. So you could start making your own, stop buying the store-bought ones, because it's really, really easy to make. And then eat it as often as you can, especially during time when, you know, allergies are more prevalent. And then also fermented food is great. It could be things like the sauerkraut, kimchi, which is almost like the Asian version of sauerkraut.
Which is really good, by the way. It sounds really funny, but she brought it in the other day and I tried it. It was really actually good.
Bad. Yeah, if you like spicy stuff. And then, I mean, yogurts have it, but depending on whether you can tolerate dairy and or if you also have an infection too, since milk can feed infections. But, I mean, if you're just starting out, that is a good source of fermented foods. There's other things such as kombucha and K-Vita, which are like drinks that are fermented. You could implement de-stress. Stress will also kind of wear down your immune system and your gut and clog your liver. So whether that's walking or exercising or even meditation, would be great for de-stressing you.
I want that drink, the de-stressor drink.
I don't know. You have to create that.
That'd be awesome. So, okay, we do have a question. You're going to like this one too. So when the liver starts working correctly, what is the change that reduces or eliminates the actual allergy? Is it just histamine or something else?
So it's both. So you're getting rid of histamine, so you have less of that continuous allergic response. And then 2, the liver is the organ responsible for dumping all your garbage. If you do have an infection, dumping all the stuff your body's managed to kill into your gut and out. So if the liver is like the empty garbage can, your body's better able to throw out what it doesn't need. And so when there's just, think of like your body, and when you have allergies or your immune system's not functioning right or your guts aren't, things are just cluttered. And if you can throw away the clutter, things have time to like breathe, actually work right, and those specific areas aren't then focused on cleaning up the clutter around them. They can just focus on working. And so you'll find you're less sensitive to things and less likely to have an allergic response.
It's one of the things, like, I know, so many people who go to chiropractors, like, they're always so, I always hear, oh, once you go to a chiropractor, you've got to go every week, or, you got to go every week for the rest of your life. Like, they just have you stuck there, right?
Yeah.
But, in working here, I've always been an advocate for chiropractors in general. But you guys are so different in how you treat people. So, just being here, even, I mean, the whole concept of chiropractic care is just to keep your spine in alignment, and that's where, like, everything's attached to that, right? So, I mean, you're just going to naturally work better even just being on maintenance. Like, I guess my point is, like, you don't have to have something wrong. Like, wait for till something is wrong to come in here, because I feel like, you know, when I started treatments here, I didn't realize how bad I felt until you guys had me feeling good. And I was like, I really didn't know what good felt like.
Yeah.
You know, and, you know, you guys all know, like, there are certain times through my treatments that I had some issues, thyroid issues, some back issues, but even, you know, in between those times where I had those acute things happening, I mean, it still would come and get adjustments, and it would happen exactly what you're saying is, like, if you, like, the maintenance of my body would help me deal with toxins and allergens, right? So
yeah, I almost like, we always talk about, like, we're just so much more than chiropractic. Like, we always say the adjustment takes like 30 seconds and then you're done if we do an adjustment that day. Because it's usually everything else we're doing is trying to figure out what your nervous system is doing that day. Is it responding correctly to the stimulus as it should, or is it misfiring and organs aren't working right, or your liver's not dumping, or yada yada yada. And then, you know, we may adjust you at the end if you need it, type of thing. Honestly, the most boring part of the treatment is the adjustment.
it's so funny, right?
It's
Yes.
the same every time. That doesn't change.
And JR, when I would bring him, he'd always ask me, like, do you know what they're going to do to me today? And I'd say, oh, no. I mean, there's no way, because it's always so different. The adjustments every time we come are so different. So I just appreciate that you guys always adjust to what we need, you know, each time you go. So, all right, time's up. If you guys have any topics you guys would like us to discuss, you can always send those out to us. We would welcome any feedback you guys have. Is always appreciated. Our number here is 724-205-6260. You will find me whenever you call in, and if you need me to reserve a seat for the class here every Wednesday, you can just find a list of those classes on our website. Okay, guys, thank you so very much for spending your time with us. We will see you next week.
Bye.